On Monday's Fastlane Daily, I made comment about the Dan Wheldon death, and your appreciation of my words was a great relief to me. Two things went through my mind the day after Dan's tragedy. I better be careful what I say because as a driver, I'm out of my league commenting on what those IndyCar racers have to do. Second, I was only going to comment about Dan on today's show if the news, good or bad, warranted it. Well, here we go. There were a ton of actions and reactions to the Dan Wheldon death, all worth sharing and getting your comments. Combine them with a few other news bites. NASCAR this weekend at their temple of high-speed pack racing and the true home of the big one crashes, Talladega. Hybrid race cars announced by Toyota, tested by Peugeot. And the new movie, Revenge of the Electric Cars, where you see how the auto industry now links technology to green branding, not sporting performance or driving. Put it all together, and I think today's show is really all about how auto racing needs to be very careful right now, or it will be viewed as a negative niche blood sport or an irrelevant exercise in the real world and future of the automobile. Hey, I promise we'll go back to the fun stuff as soon as possible, but not having this conversation with you feels more wrong than ignoring the reality and pretending it's all racing as usual. Racing needs your support and voice right now, so sit down for 6 minutes, nut up, and consider how you feel about the sport you love. Thanks. IndyCar, with sanctioning organizations the International FIA and the National ACC-US, Automobile Competition Committee US, launched an investigation into the 15-car mega crash that killed Dan Wheldon to figure out what really went wrong and what to change. The racing world, trying to make sense of the tragedy and the danger that got exposed for all the world to see, voiced their opinions. Here are the ones that caught my attention. Curious what you think. NASCAR's Jimmy Johnson says IndyCar should not run banked ovals. He may be right, but JJ, we've all seen pictures like this. NASCAR may have a roof for driver safety, but if one of your heavier than IndyCar's Cup cars strains a catch fence and you put one into the crowd, it won't be IndyCar that kills racing. Good luck at Talladega this weekend, if you get my point. Let's get the dumb one out of the way right now. I remember Mario Andretti for his great racing, trying to tap the female CEO of my sponsor, and now this brake check on reality. Quote, "This was a freak accident and no need for knee-jerk reactions." The operative word, in my opinion, jerk. David Coulthard calls IndyCar the most dangerous racing, with safety tech 20 years behind F1. Will Power and Paul Tracy see the catch fence as the biggest problem. And I found an article titled IndyCar Seeks Alternative to Catch Fence, but it was published in 2007. John Alesi, ex-F1er, and Joe Tanto from the movie Driven lookalike, plans to race the 2012 Indy 500 with Lotus. Says he will still do it because it's safe enough. Here comes the joke. Of course, he can bravely say that. Alesi has the safety knowing the Lotus IndyCar engine is nowhere to be found. Lotus. Vaporware Indy engine, canceled LMP car, but you announce a karting program. So there you go, Jean, your 2012 Lotus ride. It's the comments of Jackie Stewart and Jacques Villeneuve that seem to grasp more reality and perspective. Sir Jackie, always the maven of racing safety, Jacques, understanding racing mortality. I've included the links to their interviews. But what they say? Easy. Too fast, too close, too many cars, too easy to go flat out, putting average guys right there with the talented, and drivers with no fear of car-to-car contact, racing like it's a freaking video game. And the key factor, pack racing at 225 miles an hour leaves no reaction time. Yes, IndyCar needs to make significant changes for ovals, like not racing NASCAR ovals, or slowing the cars, or taking off downforce so you can actually drive the damn things, or driver restrictions. You have to be certified to run Indy. Vegas was faster, but just climb in and let's go. If IndyCar does not make changes, and I believe they will, Steve McQueen's line from his Le Mans movie, "This is a professional blood sport," will become the signed death warrant for racing. Racing will never be 100% safe, just like US football, but it does not need to be unnecessarily unsafe or irrelevant. The only thing I hated about director Chris Payne's film, Revenge of the Electric Car, the sequel to his documentary, Who Killed the Electric Car, was that this latest movie exposed how auto guys, like Bob Lutz and Carlos Ghosn, have disconnected driving performance from the auto industry's positioning of technology. My point is, I fear a mentality of the why race to improve the breed when the technology in racing is not relevant to the cars we're engineering and selling. So when Toyota announces its return to international racing with a green hybrid Le Mans car, and Peugeot immediately trumps that by testing their hybrid 908 LMP1, when Audi admits the R18 and their 2012 next-gen car are adaptable to hybrid, when Porsche keeps evolving their 911 hybrid, when the Paul Drayson team commits itself to a full electric LMP1, all that allows racing to be seen as relevant versus allowing the plug to be pulled on racing because it no longer matters and/or it kills people and the planet. And yes, the fans loved the silent R18 diesel, thinking it mega cool, even versus the screaming V12 Aston Martin. The Aussie V8 Supercars Gold Coast race is this weekend, and a lot of international racers are making guest drives. Dan Wheldon was to be one of them, with the Toll Holden Racing Team. And in a gesture of honor, they kept Dan's name on the car, and each driver has the Wheldon name on his helmet visor. I know which team I'm pulling for.
Ow, we're living in the fast lane, baby.